Welcome to the Life of Being podcast, where we talk about all things life from a healthcare perspective all around the world. I'm your host, Kelly Tan, and in each episode, we'll explore stories, science, and wisdom to help you live well, think deeper, and express life fully. Let's begin. Today, we are joined by an exceptional guest. We have Dr. Shaan Rai, all the way from Singapore. Dr. Shaan is a doctor of chiropractic who founded the first upper cervical practice, Vitality Chiropractic Center in Singapore, and has been serving the community since 2015. Dr. Shaan trained at the AACC in the UK before relocating to Southeast Asia. He's the Alliance of Chiropractic Chairman for Outreach, organizing events within Singapore with the People's Association and other charities. Dr. Shaan has helped thousands of people with experiencing patients with headaches, migraines, vertigo, Meniere's, whiplash, IBS, and other chronic nervous system problems. Dr. Shaan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So, shall we start by you sharing your story? How did you stumble upon chiropractic? And I'd like to know more about why did you choose to relocate to Southeast Asia and why did you choose Singapore?
So I think for some people when they get into chiropractic, it's because they have this like big inspirational story. Maybe they have an accident or an injury. Maybe they have a stomach issue. Maybe they're an athlete. I'll be honest, I never had one of these particularly. I probably should have. The thing I only realized after when I was in my second year of university, I'd been to see GPs for back issues and for other things when I was younger, and they never picked up on it. My first intern, who was still a student, she picked it up straight away and she says, "Okay, can we send for an X-ray?" And they actually found out that I had Sherman's. So I should have probably been seeing a chiropractor from a young age, but it was never connected properly by other healthcare professionals. But at least in terms of me becoming a chiropractor, it was more that I wanted to do something in healthcare. I wanted to do something to help people. I honestly wasn't really sure what. So I looked at some different paths for a while, whether it was maybe trying to do something like dentistry, looking into physiotherapy. And then I went to observe a chiropractor. And I saw like you go to a GP's office and most people are maybe they're unhealthy, they're unhappy, it's always a bit grey, it's always a bit faded and old. I went to her practice and it was quite natural. She was quite happy and healthy. A lot of her patients, they were experiencing problems, but they were quite happy and healthy as well. And it just made a lot more sense. So it probably wasn't until I was a few years into chiropractic school that I realized more about why I was there and why I was more passionate about it. And that's really when things started to build up. And in terms of me moving abroad, I kind of had that itch. So it was like a lot of people may get, but I didn't have it for a long time. So again, it was one of these things that developed a bit later. It was only when I was in my final year of university, one of my housemates, a friend of mine, he came home one day and he was like, "Oh, I'm moving to Sweden." And I don't know if he knows this, but like he's actually was a big inspiration for me leaving because until that point I hadn't really been thinking about it, and it just kind of changed something in my head. And like, last time I spoke to him was I think a couple of weeks ago. He still lives there. Like he has a family now. He has a child. But yeah, it just really inspired me. Like, why am I staying? Like as much as I love being from the UK, I love growing up in London. Like it was great, but at the same time, I had a job already lined up. But I was like, well, why am I staying? So originally I was looking at jobs around Scandinavia. Actually talked to him about maybe some opportunities in Sweden, looked at Denmark, and I went to Copenhagen and met some people there. I was considering taking a trip to go to Finland and meet with some people about jobs. And then randomly I offered a job in Indonesia. So I took the job in Indonesia and then I was there for around 6 months before I came to Singapore, which would be nearly 10 years ago.
Wow, that's like a decade has passed. Why Singapore then? Because I know Singapore is like very central. Is that the reason why you chose Singapore to open up your practice?
So, and initially, when I left Indonesia, it's like I'm sure some people will know, there was a lot of controversy and problems in Indonesia with chiropractic. Even to this day, you can't really be a foreign chiropractor there unless you are married to a local or you have a certain type of pass, to my understanding. And to be honest, the local Indonesian chiropractors usually are not as well trained. Usually they do like say a course in some other form of healthcare, and they do like this like add-on in Jakarta or somewhere else in Indonesia. So it's still not as developed. But then afterwards, so when I left, I had a choice. It was either there, and I was still looking at other jobs either in Dubai or Shanghai. I was quite tempted by Shanghai, but it would have been with a company I used to work with, who honestly I don't really trust that much.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay in Singapore for some other personal reasons as well. And it wasn't until I'd been there about 3 years, that's when I really decided, okay, this is the niche and the specialty I want to go in. And that's when I really decided that I have to open my own practice. I can't do this within the realms of someone else's practice. I have to open up my own and do something here.
How did you stumble upon Green Books then? Was it in your university? And when did you feel that upper cervical is the way to go in, and that's why you open up your practice?
I appreciate the time I had at the AECC, but I don't think it would have been very conducive to upper cervical practice or philosophical practice. And I'm sure a lot of my classmates probably would say the same.
Mm.
Green books are not something that's openly talked about, and weren't even readily available. They were like this dusty part of the library somewhere upstairs where you couldn't really even easily see it. So it wasn't really something that was as open and available to us. My first job when I was in the UK, there was definitely a bit more talk philosophically. And then when I came here, because I met chiropractors from around the world, not just ones who are from the UK or other parts of Europe,
Mm.
there's a lot of people here who are from New Zealand or from Australia, a lot from the States. Even like a good friend of mine, his dad was the former president of New Zealand's Chiropractic College. And they're a
Mm.
very philosophical college. So, I could have a great conversation with him about these things. So it wasn't really there that I got that exposure. It was more one of the jobs I had here. I'd say that the boss I had here for a long time, he in some ways was not a great teacher, but he was a great portal of entry. So
Mm.
he'd teach you things by accident. He may not nurture you in some ways more traditionally in practice, but he had all the blue book. So that opens you up to learning other things. And he would say do upper cervical to some extent, but we're doing it without x-rays and doing it without scans. So again, it's not teaching you, to be honest, a great thing to do, but the same way it's then going, oh, how do I do this properly then? It's a lot of
Mm.
exposure. So I think he was very good for that in terms of exposure. And that's really what led me then to go more into the books and the philosophy.
And he didn't even like explicitly say, "Hey, read this blue book." He just like, "I have this
No.
thing. You can pick it up if you want to."
He had a big collection of books. I don't know if he, honestly, I'm not sure if he's read all of them or if, like we all do. Like I've got books I've bought and just
Yeah.
never got around to reading them. He definitely had, again, a good philosophical understanding because he went to Life West. But yeah, he never directly was like, okay, here's this book,
Yeah.
learn some stuff by Strauss. It was more just kind of, oh, there's things on the shelves here.
Mm.
Let's read.
How do you develop your understanding in upper cervical?
For upper cervical specifically, I think it starts with a philosophy. If you understand the core philosophy of chiropractic, then upper cervical is just, for me, the most logical way to go about it. There's never a point afterwards where someone's going to say to me that ankles and knees are a real big part of chiropractic. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely illogical to me. So for me, without getting even into the anatomy side of things, the neurological side of things, just reading through Strauss, his philosophy of chiropractic, that for me is easily the most pivotal book that I've had. I've got like books I love in the practice. I've got one that's by Barge. Anytime a patient asks to borrow it, I have to politely explain no because they don't make these and it's very hard to find. For Strauss's philosophy of chiropractic, that would be easily the one that changed everything for me.
So if there's a book that you recommend to every student or even the associate, the first book you recommend is Joe Strauss' book then, The Chiropractic Philosophy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it's also because I think, and this is nothing against other philosophy books. I think say if you read Stevenson's books or if you read the books by Sinnett, they're great. But I think it was the first book I'd read where it really tackled it like a concept of philosophy. It didn't try to put it in a way in some ways that was easy for the reader. It's hard. It actually is.
Yes.
Like if you I did philosophy at school, again, this is in like secondary school. But if you try to read through some philosophical textbooks from the 1800s, they're not easy reads. It's quite difficult to go through. And Strauss approached it in that manner. He didn't try to dumb things down and make it easy. He went through it like straight for the jugular. It's just, okay, this is how we should be talking to it. We're not just going to talk about a simple concept. It's how do we go through inductive and deductive reasoning? How do we make it much more complex because it is complex?
It's not easy, but once you understand it, everything just makes sense, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Why did you choose to do TATS then for upper cervical?
So the person I was working for before, he did something kind of similar, not trained by the same people, but he did something similar to knee chest, but he would do like a mix of knee chest or maybe he would toggle someone depending on what he kind of decided he wanted to do. And he didn't really know how to teach that going forward. So then I started looking at other courses and I'd always kind of try to be involved in some levels of things, but I'd always liked the work that Shaan was doing and it was Lacey, I believe, at the time. And yeah, for me, it was a technique that made more sense. And I didn't have as much exposure to some of the other knee chest things that were going on at the time. But I agreed with a lot of what Shaan Dill was saying in terms of not just how it was, okay, this is a technique, this is a way that we help people, but also about ideas of philosophy and how we should build a practice. So those things all, for me, made sense when came in combination together.
So in terms of your journey, it's more on you understanding the philosophy first, and then upper cervical
Mhm.
makes sense. And then due to the environment and the people that you worked with previously, you got the exposure to knee chest. And then from then with Dr. Shaan Dill, you were working more towards TATS.
Yeah. And
And
then one other, I guess, kind of instance when I was working for that particular boss. So the first time he ever adjusted me knee chest, again, like I said, there's no x-ray. He did a nerve scan once on a patient when they were first come in, but it was never repeated. So the first time he adjusted me, it was wrong. And I've never had a headache in my life. I've been adjusted for many years in my life. I've never had a headache. I've never had some of these other neurological things. And then because I've only been working for him, I think about 2 weeks. And suddenly I had dysphagia. I had like problems swallowing. I had a headache. I had all these different things. I had a horrible weekend. And I went in on a Monday and I said to him, like, no, to be really honest, I feel really, really bad after last time. His communication skills weren't great. And his literal thing was, oh, it's probably just the wrong side. So then he adjusted me on the other side. And yeah, I've been adjusted at this point for years by different people with different techniques.
Mm.
But it wasn't that it just cleared away some of the stuff that had happened over the weekend. I felt taller. I felt more responsive. I felt like, okay, that's what we should be doing. But how do I do this every time? How do I not then make mistakes? And how do I not put someone in that position that, say, I give them an adjustment, it's on the wrong side, they go away for a 4-week holiday, all of it's terrible for them. And that was really then what led me into doing more research and discovering TATS and looking at other courses as well.
If someone comes up, as a student comes up, what is the first step that for them to take so that they can work in a upper cervical practice moving forward?
I think it depends partly on which institution that they study in. Yeah, it kind of depends where you go to university. I think if you go somewhere like, say, Sherman or NZTC, that you'll already have usually quite good exposure to upper cervical. It's probably going to be toggle, but you're probably going to have exposure with, like other extracurricular
Yes.
classes. But I think for most people, then going down a more traditional route of going into a course, whether it's going to be, again, like it doesn't have to be knee chest, but even things like Blair, Nuka, they all have great courses. Orthogonal has great courses. And trying to be honest, not just do one, but trying to absorb bits and pieces of all of them. It doesn't mean that you'll end up doing all of them. You can then take parts from it which you think are going to be more beneficial, or it'll start to complement the ideas and the structures that you have in your head. But most of it ends up being, honestly, in some ways quite the same. Everyone's going down like the same path. We all have the same nail in our head, but one person has a mallet, one person has a hammer, but we're all doing the same thing. So yeah, I think being open to a lot of different courses, and especially now, because especially since COVID, a lot more people have been offering things online.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, that was not something that was available before. So it's only since then that, say, like from here, it's not very accessible to get on some courses that would be in Europe or in the States. But only since then, we'd say like KC, UCS, and then Unuka, orthogonal courses, all of it now has become much more available online compared to where it was before. It's not the same, of course, as being in person with someone, but it definitely means that it's a lot more accessible.
So at the moment, what are you studying then?
It's been for a while. I still have some of the orthogonal textbooks, so still going through some of those parts. Otherwise, it's one thing. I'm actually working on my own stuff. So I'm writing a book at the moment because one of the big things we see with our patients is dizziness and other. Oh, thank you. But yes, it's something I've also been working on for a while, and I've been a bit lazy with. But we have a lot of patients who come to see us for balance, vertigo, or other like balance related issues. So because dizziness is such a big part of our practice, that's something I'll be writing about. So then I'm also looking at the other things that we can do outside of our practice, as well as the other, more traditional paths that patients may go down as well, to understand more of their path for dealing with their problems.
So I know that you're also writing a lot in terms of case reports to publish and everything. So it's really, really great contribution to the profession. So thank you for what you're doing. How long you been starting writing the book then, and what is the project timeline that you're looking to get it out?
Honestly, it's been like a couple of years with a very big gap in between. A lot of it got done quite quickly, and then it was a big gap in between. But now I'm doing much more of it. So I think we're already at like 50,000 words or so. So I need to start cutting things down. Otherwise, it's not supposed to be a textbook. It's supposed to just be something accessible for people.
But like the more you learn, the more you're gonna put in, and then I feel like, oh, I need to like cut this down again.
Exactly. And then you get to a point you're like, I don't think they need to know about this nucleus. I don't think it's very accessible. So
what spurred you into like, oh, I need to get back on track with this book? What inspired you to finish the book?
I think like everyone goes through these peaks and troughs in their career. It's very, very normal. And I used to see this, and I used to wonder about this as well when that would happen to me too, where people go in these phases where they want to go to, like, say in the UK, the UCA or the BCA or any of these big seminars where they need to go and meet a lot of people and be more involved in chiropractic. And I think I've never, to some extent, been as much of that person. Like, I'm quite motivated internally, so I don't need to go and do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is much easier, especially when we're based here and there's less access to these things. But I think in terms of the book, it was then just more, how can I contribute in different ways? So you spend a lot more time reading, and then you get more and more ideas. I think as I've read less, that's where I've realized, okay, maybe I need to read more. So I got back into reading some more, and then I was really, okay, how can I give more value to patients as well? Because you can only do so much on yourself, and you have to start to realize, what can you do outside of it, whether it is mentoring, whether it's teaching, whether it's just helping other chiropractors be better chiropractors. Like, how can you add more to the population?
In terms of using your clients, what is the other factor that you would advise other than getting checked regularly in terms of if there's any subluxation?
It really depends on the case. I mean, like, we have a booklet we give to every patient when they start care. There's a bunch of general advice in there, because it is one of these things, the more you go down that rabbit hole of giving advice, then we step further and further and further away from chiropractic. It doesn't mean that these things don't complement care, but it's kind of like, say, if my dentist starts giving me advice about finances, he may be right, but it's not the person I'm coming to see. If I had to be one thing, though, I would say people dealing with their own mental, in whatever fashion that is, whether it's dealing with stress, whether it's dealing with problems they've had in their past, or whether it's just preventing things going forward. I think that would be the biggest take home I would want people to have.
With yourself, you're someone who's really, really health conscious in terms of, I know recently you shared all about microplastic, gut health and everything. Was this something that you already, something that you've since young, or like in between something inspired you to be more health conscious as an overall?
I think overall, like, I come from a fairly healthy family. Like even as a child, even my mum would say very openly that I probably only had antibiotics maybe like a couple of times ever because she would avoid these kind of things. She would avoid
Hmm.
painkillers. We've always been more of like a bit of a natural family in that sense. It's always just kind of made sense for us that why would you opt to have the more unhealthy option? My dad's quite active, like even into this day, he's still quite active. Like he recently had a heart attack, and then even a couple of weeks afterwards,
Hmm.
he's just like, no, I think I'm just going to go and walk everywhere today because he's bored and he doesn't want to drive around. So he ends up walking like 12 miles a day some days just because why not?
Wow.
So yeah, I think we come from a fairly healthy family in that.
Now, with yourself, what is your vision of chiropractic in Singapore or Southeast Asia?
Like realistically or ideally?
You can do both.
Realistically, here we're still not part of the healthcare system as much. We
Mm,
still would be under like I think not even we wouldn't even be allied health at this point. At this point, we'd be like complementary medicine. So
mm,
I would like to see us be more of a part of the healthcare system here because I think otherwise the healthcare system here does work very well for people. They do have a lot of other things that they really work on, which I get it's a smaller country, but they do work on some of the preventive measures. They do try to get people to exercise more. They do have a lot of proactive testing. So I think there is a lot of good things about the healthcare system here. I think if we could be a bigger part of that, I think it could just be helpful, not just for us, but for the country overall in general. It's one of the things the association wants to work towards. If I'm being really ideal, this is an idea a thought I've had since I was probably in university. I would love pediatrics chiropractic to be one of the most integrated parts of the world because I think that's
mm,
the simplest thing. If you have checks when someone's a baby, that's what's going to set them up the best for life. Of course, there's going to be knocks, there's going to be stresses, there's going to be other things that will develop over time. But
mm.
if we had checks at that stage in life, I think that's the biggest value we could ever give to mankind
And
by
how is
far.
it with chiropractic pediatrics in Singapore? Is it up and growing?
Yeah, so there is a colleague of mine, or actually a classmate, Kylie, she set up a practice here even before me. So this would have been like 8, 9 years ago. And she's no
Wow.
longer in the practice, she's no longer here anymore. She's moved back to the UK. When she set it up, it was really like the first place for mums and for children.
Mm,
So it was very busy. She's doing really, really well. And since then, some of the people that used to work for her, they've set up their own practices here, including a good friend of mine. So there's definitely some great chiropractors here when it comes to pediatrics.
mm.
But it is still a bit limited. I would say there's probably 3 practices in the country which are really dedicated more to mums and to children.
And what is the step that you're taking? What's the next step that you're thinking of?
Does it mean more for me, or do you mean like for the profession in general?
Probably for more for yourself personally. What is it that you feel like? What's the next step that you think that's the logical step to take?
For me, I think it's more just expanding the practice that we already have. And one thing that we do see as a growing number, particularly since after COVID, is we have patients who travel to see us from other countries. We have what we call intensives. So that's something that's definitely growing. We actually have somebody who's in an intensive with us this week. They traveled here from Korea.
Mm,
So I think that is definitely something because we are quite limited within the region. Again, within the region, we could say there's us, there's the Flores brothers in Philippines. There's a couple of people in Australia. There's a handful of people in Japan, but Japan is always been kind of insular. But that's kind of it. There's not really anybody else in the
yes.
area. So it's just a way that we can give people more access. So through
Mhm.
these intensives, which again, it's not perfect. I would love to have more time with every patient, of course, but it's a 1 or 2 weeks where someone can travel in from, say, whether it's from Thailand or from Malaysia or somewhere else, and they can have
Mm.
access to care that maybe they wouldn't have access to otherwise. So I think expanding that more just again opens up doors to other people. Looking for other opportunities would always be open to it.
And how do you expand upper cervical so that they are aware of it, so that they get in contact with you? How do you get upper cervical up to the world?
That's partly why I've been doing, you noticed about really more stuff on social media recently, because that's
Mm,
one of the easiest ways. And someone who's quite big on this, Dr. Nathan Berner, someone I talk to, kind of every so often. And yeah, his videos are ridiculous. Like he has like millions and millions of people, but it's not just about like him being busy in practice. They get some crazy number of thousands and thousands of leads every single month. The majority he's not trying to see. The majority he's directing out, and he has an automated system so that when someone comes in, they say, "Oh, I'm in London," and they go, "Oh, we're going to send to the guy at Top chiro, and it's all automated to that extent. So it's a way that you can help as
Mm.
many people as possible. Kind of like UCC near me, they all do these things as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
another way that we can kind of contribute to that so that patients have more access, especially the ones who don't know. Like I got a question today from somebody about trigeminal neuralgia, and it's only after talking to them I realized, oh, because they're in Canada, it's like, oh, actually, there's people there who can help
Mm.
you and refer them to that person who's able to help. So yeah, it means that our practice grows, of course, naturally because it will, but it means that people are getting the care they need. It's a
Yeah.
bit more energy and effort, but it's worth it. But at least you're giving more people more options.
And that's why you're putting all your content out, educating people, understanding what's
Yeah.
going on, and getting checked over there.
And same thing, even say for having a book as well. Like the book is going to be, of course, talking about the different options patients have for dizziness, but part of it will be about upper cervical. And it's
Yeah.
having someone understand that there is another option they have, not
Mm.
just do you go for a surgery or do you take beta histine for the rest of your life?
We definitely look forward to your book that will be coming out soon, hopefully in the next couple of years.
A couple of months.
Couple of months. Oh, all right. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Who inspires you? What's your inspirational figure, whether it's personal or chiropractic? What inspires you?
I think within chiropractic, it's hard not to be inspired. There's some really inspiring people. Yeah, like Reggie was a big inspiration for me. I try to watch everything I could ever see of him. People who are still around today, the ones like say the ones who are still working at it today, who I know don't need to. And I don't just mean because of money, but because they have other things going on in their lives or
Mm.
they have other ways. Like, because sometimes we get into these things like our careers because we're looking for fulfillment, and not always. There's some people I know that they're massively fulfilled in all these other ways. So, like, say, like someone like Rob Sinnott, who's still working in research, he's still working in HRV. I think is incredible. Like the fact that
Mm.
he's still so persistent and still cares so much. Same Sean, who again, even though he may not look like he's always working chiropractic, he's always working in and around chiropractic, and it's always for the benefit of chiropractic. So him, any of the guys in IFCO, like
Mm.
yeah, these are the people who really, even though it may seem like they're not as loud all the time, they're definitely
Mm.
helping to push things forward in the best way possible. Because there's some parts of chiropractic which I personally don't agree with, and if we're not pushing things forward, they will, unfortunately.
As a doctor of chiropractic and from where you are now, achieving so many different things and contributing so much to profession, take me back to the most life-changing conversation you had. What is the greatest advice that you've received that has led you to where you are today?
I think in terms of the kind of two parts to it. So one, in terms of that moment, it was probably the first time I went to a TATS seminar. So I went from here and it was in Melbourne. So I did like a red eye flight at like 10 p.m. I arrived there at 5 a.m. Didn't really sleep much. Went straight from the airport to the seminar, which they were doing in Crown, which is like this area with all like casinos and everything else. And I
Wow.
got up there and everything they were saying was like destroying ideas in my head and everything was blowing my mind. They were talking about the concept of like, okay, if you have to adjust a patient every time, how much are you actually helping them? All of these things made perfect sense. And all of it, I just sat there like, you need to quit my job, but I'm not ready yet. Okay. So I think that was a big pivotal moment because it was a lot of questions that were asked rather than telling us a lot of introspection about how we are as chiropractors and as a profession, rather than just trying to say, this is the best thing you can do, is allowing us to understand things and think about it for ourselves. In terms of advice, actually, to answer probably will come from Sean as well. Try to think of the exact wording you would use for the have a conviction stronger than your desire to please, which again, especially for upper cervical, comes back to it because every time somebody comes in, if we always have to adjust them, always think they want us to be adjusted, or we want to adjust them, we have no conviction. We have to have that conviction to say when something is or is not needed to have. And the same thing at a greater level for everything, whether it's a patient that we should or should not be seeing, everything else, we should have higher convictions rather than just wanting to make people happy all the time.
How would you explain upper cervical then to people?
Well, at simple level, if I'm like out in a public place, I probably wouldn't. I would just keep it very simple and say like, yeah. So like patients who have dizziness, migraines and stuff, I see stuff like that. Keep it nice and simple. But if someone really asked, I would say that. So we work with that area, the top part of your neck, just for the simple reason that this is a connection point between your brain and your body, kind of like the fuse box of your body. If I took a hammer to a fuse box in your house, it probably isn't just going to turn off one light. It's going to turn off your lights, your toaster, your TV, everything's going to start to be affected. And the same thing can happen at this level just because there's such a high concentration of that. So something happens here, it can have a widespread systemic effect. It's not probably going to give you ankle pain, but it can start to cause a lot of other problems and conditions.
What is the role of full spine in terms of chiropractic? Because that's something that some people will try to upper cervical. It makes sense to me, not adjusting, because that's one of the questions that you're also asked about when I first reached out to you, and you're such a kind person who talked about upper cervical. And for leaving people alone, that's something, a concept that's foreign to say the full spine chiropractic. What is your thoughts in terms of what's going on both sides?
So if I had a cut in my arm and I went to see the best surgeon in the world and he sewed it up, if he has to play with it every single day, probably not going to
Mm-hmm.
heal very well. It needs time. Everything needs time. And that's really what's happening with us. When a patient is holding, that's when they're healing. That's when things are going to be improving more. So if we can get them to that point, they don't need to be adjusted. That's great. That's fantastic. I think the problem, and because I've heard this more, this is the thing, I've heard this objection more from chiropractors than I've heard this from patients. Not adjusting and it being a problem.
Yes.
I went to the dentist the other day. She didn't pull any teeth out. I feel great. Like it's fantastic. Like genuinely, she didn't pull any teeth out. No pain, no nothing. Why am I complaining? The patients generally don't complain either. As long as you explain to someone that this is a positive
Yes.
thing, this is what we're aiming to have. Because
Yes.
most people get that, whether it's less medication, less interventions, that's what they want in their life. The problem then is for chiropractors that yes, they think no, that they want us to do something, so we must always be doing something. They're not getting value from what we're doing. Part of
Mm.
it is just communication. They're not
Yes.
explaining it enough to people in the first place, and you have to explain this early on. This should be
Mm.
explained before they even go for an X-ray. There needs to
Mm.
be this explanation of what is going to be normal going forward. But I think sometimes also for chiropractors, well, it's just again, it's putting our own thoughts and kind of clouding it over people, but they don't always have the same thought process as we do.
Do you feel like if everyone is an obstacle chiropractor, it will be the best for the profession moving forward? Or you feel like there will be cases where I need to adjust somewhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. I think and this is where this sounds a bit mean. Upper cervical chiropractic is the purest form of chiropractic, without a doubt. That and pediatric. Again, that's more just a bias of you're helping a child. How can you not be biased towards it? But there is definitely a place for full spine chiropractic. Absolutely. So same for
Mm.
us in our practice. Like we triage patients before they come in. We'll have a preliminary
Mm.
call with almost everybody before they come in to make sure that we are the right fit for them. And say if someone has something like, say, back pain, and if they've never seen a full spine chiropractor before, and if they've had something like an accident, like they play rugby and they fall on the floor, we won't book them in. I'll refer them
Mm.
to a great chiropractor, no, because yeah, there are some times where something in their hip, their pelvis, their lower back is involved, and that's what's best for them. Again, I have Sherman. Don't get me wrong, a thoracic adjustment's great for me. Like it's very nice. It doesn't mean it's chiropractic, but
Mm.
there is value in what people are doing. So again, I don't hold any prejudice against people who are doing full spine chiropractic. It's not bad. They're still giving value to people.
Yes.
They're still helping people with their health. They're still improving people's lives, but it's
Yes.
just not really chiropractic at this stage.
Yeah. There's also like different types of people you're seeing in terms of how you triage people, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're coming towards the end of our conversation already. I know it's just so much of knowledge and wisdom from yourself. What is the thing that you would like to leave listeners to? And what's the last bits of advice that you leave the listeners for?
Think do everything you can to learn from others. You asked a bit before about what should people do if they want to be in upper cervical
Mm.
chiropractic. So yes, going to seminars, but also finding mentors when you can and
Mm.
trying to learn from them and try to take all the best parts from any mentors. Again, I've had a number of mentors, and I can't say I agree with everything they've done, but I cannot say that I've not learned something from all of them, even
Mm.
the less ethical ones. They all will give you value. So try to just take everything positive that you can from others. Always stay open to learning and always be ready to be wrong. Like I love upper cervical, but realistically, if we see there's some other way that can better deal with subluxation in the future, I'm open to it. I'm
Mm.
open to changing if there is something better than can be done now. We shouldn't be
Mm.
dogmatic about it. So always be open to learning more, always be open to improving and be consistent. That's the easiest thing. We expect patients to be consistent, but it's very common that we're not. If we're consistent, it's much easier for them to be consistent as well.
That's a really great way to wrap up our conversation here. Where's the best place we can find you then, Dr. Shaan?
So yeah, if you want to find any information, you can find us at Vitality Chiropractic Singapore. Otherwise, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Lemonade, I think Lemonade now as well.
Lemonade,
Either as
okay.
yeah, that's a new one to me. Yeah, either as Vitality Chiropractic or Dizzy Chiropractor for myself.
That's perfect. And we'll leave all your information towards the description below. And if anyone
Mhm.
is interested to reach out to you in terms of chiropractic, in terms of upper circle, feel free to reach out. Dr. Shaan is a really great person to
Absolutely.
reach out to. All right. Thank you for your time. And we shall speak really soon then.
No problem. See you later.
Take care then. Bye bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Life of Being podcast. Let us know what is your one key takeaway from this episode. And if this conversation inspired you, share it with a friend who might find it helpful today. Until next time, take care of your health and take care of your being.